Oh boy, there's a real divide happening right now in the shooter genre. There's a slowly growing fan base that's in love with fluid and skill-based movement and mechanics. Going to be interesting to see if anyone takes the leap of faith and attempts to make a game for this demographic. Let me pull one right out of my pocket for you and throw it at ya. So what's interesting is movement and shooters have been around for a while, and this Call of Duty Superman thing looks like a Left 4 Dead Hunter, and even then before that you have Quake and Doom and all those shooters that have movement at its core. So there's interesting things we need to talk about that people are saying here. He goes on to say that Titanfall 1 and 2, the desire of a game of that caliber wasn't there when they released, which was in 2014 and October 2016. Doom 2016 came out in May of that year, and although it wasn't as heavily movement oriented, it began to lay the groundwork for what was to come in a way of its own. I genuinely think those games were ahead of their time, yeah. I also think that times have changed for FPS. Art and character building is more important than ever. There are games now that are geared around movement. Bloodshot 9001 has created an indie game called Defrag whose whole intensive purpose is movement. That is all it is. And I think that when you really miss all of the Dooms and the Quakes and all of the classics that laid that groundwork for this, now just because it's not super popular doesn't mean it's not there. Another interesting note, I think players need a sense of discovery, and please pay attention, this is so right, when it comes to unlocking those skill mechanics, allowing movement or whatever skill mechanics you implement into your game to live and breathe in an ecosystem of tools instead of feeling like a binary button. And that's so true, like Doom Eternal's Ballista Boost, Left 4 Dead Common Jumps, the meat hook, it's all skill-based. It's easy to learn, but it's hard to master. You can do the basics, but if you want to get really good, you have to put a lot of time and work in. Now, there is a skill ceiling that's pretty high, so if you put that time in, you're going to be rewarded. You can jump and shoot to get a little boost, or you can do more complex ways. You can chain together with extra attack like punches, down and across, take jump pads, do the Arbalest weapon modification boost, and you have to consider ammo economy and management in battle and movement, especially for speedrunning, because you need to make sure you allocate ammo to boosting and to what you're going to need on the battlefield. So yes, it's absolutely true. I agree that we should have skill-based movement as he does as well, but I think we're missing some of the points there. You can have that integrated in very well. Now, we did get some representation here from Ultimatum 1895 saying modern gamers are so beyond help. They just ignore Quake, Unreal Tournament, Titanfall, Dusk, Doom, literally the entire boomer shooter community right now. This is not a growing niche. It was literally the original group. We've always been here. The demographic is massive. Seriously, and I'm really going to show you something neat here in a second from a game dev. It's more so interesting because this type of game has been around since the 90s, always has, and it's just been expanded on since then. 1993 Doom had limitations that Doom Eternal from 2020 does not, and the same thing happens from any other game down the years. Quake, 1996, 3 years after Doom, had some great advancements like with rocket jumping, for instance. There's so much that is out there that is being neglected. Now, I wanted to pull up here Jason McCord. He is actually a dev that worked on Apex, and he said that near and dear topic for me after working on Titanfall and Apex. Movement shooters are fun in the short term, but not sustainable in my opinion. These are best fit for arena shooters, where a match is quick and fun, but you are all sugared up after 5 or 6 matches. So he goes on to have an interesting discussion here we're going to break down, and that is exactly why pacing matters. A lot of people, when they play these fast-paced shooters, say, just give me everything all the time. Well, you need pacing, at least most people do, to be able to relax, calm it down, then bring it back up, and then relax and have that ebb and flow to where you're not just fried. When you're fried from all of the intensity, that's called adrenaline fatigue. You're just going 90 miles an hour, 100%, and after so long, you just can't do it anymore. Everybody has a different limit. You can train that limit, I'm sure, but even other games like Left 4 Dead incorporate this as well, so it's not just high-paced, fast-action arena shooters. Now, speaking of, he says mobility shooters tend to focus on reaction, not strategy. These words get people arguing, but generally, movement-based mechanics require you to get better on the sticks and react to some unpredictable thing that just happened. Strategy requires you to think, plan, and execute, and I think that's where Doom Eternal comes in great. It's not the same team play based oriented mechanics as Left 4 Dead or some other game like that, but you do have strategy amidst the movement. Yes, reaction is absolutely a key point, but as I have had 900 hours in Doom Eternal and the classics in 2016 and all before that, there's absolutely strategy. The trigger enemies, understanding your ammo economy and health, restacking, situational awareness, what else is there? Movement, positioning, understanding the enemy AI. I could go on, there is absolutely strategy in arena shooters. Look at Quake. The Quake Pro dual players, memorize the times that the items take to spawn on the field and judge in their head. They do the math in their head to figure out, I need to be here when this spawns, I need to be over there, this is this far away, so I need to incorporate that. FPS Twitter is really wrong on this one, okay? I'm just going to say that. I don't care if it's controversial or not, I'm going to say it. Because there's so much to do. And then you have to predict your enemy's movement. Oh, how does this dual player play? What does he do in his gameplay? What does he not do? What are his strengths? What are his weaknesses? There is so much more than just reaction time when it comes to high-level FPS arena play. I'm going to calm down before I get too angry here. Okay, so let's continue on the sticks or keyboard and mouse, actually. Strategy has long-term potential. You can always get better, or you can have play to fight smarter if the game allowed options. Apex does this because the combat is paced where you can think about what to do next in the middle of a fight. What your enemy can do is learnable. Yes. Now, my brother plays Apex. He has actually played at a pretty high level. He was the Predator rank on Xbox, which I believe is up there. And I would absolutely say, yeah, you can have this type of strategy, as I just mentioned, in arena shooters. The arena shooter games, the genre, like Doom and Dusk and Quake, get this reputation to where it's just fast and go and just shoot, hold W, or E in my case, and just left-click all the enemies. So much more than that. Even classic Doom, understanding Doom guys' movement, the enemy and their firing, the randomized damage, we can actually make probably a 2-hour video essay going off of these mechanics and why they're so important to the game. And I think people are missing this. When your game is all reactionary, Titanfall, sorry, the only way to get better is to literally get good on the sticks. Think and react faster. This is fun for a while, but creates this insane skill gap that doesn't scale to a large player base. It's also very tiring. Ergo the pacing that I just talked about. There's an answer to this problem right here. And hey, if Jason is watching this is not a personal attack. This is FPS player discussing with FPS player, right? That's why you have your pacing. That's why Hugo Martin of Doom Eternal in 2016 is so adamant about that pacing. Because most people need that break from adrenaline fatigue. Okay, I'm going to put this in your perspective here. All right, have you ever heard this example? Say you're listening to metal music and you're listening to all the time, go, go, go. You're driving so fast in the car, heavy. Well, after a while, does that heaviness lose its luster? Does it become not so intense after a while? If you played the Doom series, you will understand how, especially in 2016, when you have just finished an arena, it's all heavy and massive, go, go, go. There is one enemy hiding, you can't find him, he's a low-tier imp. This heavy music's playing and you're excited, but there's like one little imp and the mood is killed. You're like, okay, it's not really that cool anymore. It's just one imp. He's hiding. The moment is killed, it's gone. Okay, anyway. All players have a point where they just can't play faster. For me, I could play Titanfall 1 and 2 for about 45 minutes before my eyes were bleeding. I'd be exhausted. I could play Apex for hours. There's better pacing. I've not played Titanfall to be able to say. It does look very heavily movement-oriented in a speed game, but I feel like in this time frame, 2022 and 3 and beyond, there are answers to this question that are not being given in this post, and he just may not be aware of it, or even if he is aware, he just maybe disagrees with me and says, hey, I feel like that is not the case. The pacing is not there. The strategy is not there. I disagree, as I've talked about just momentarily ago. This doesn't inherently mean that Titanfall mobility is bad. It's all just sugar, and that's not sustainable. We would often talk about the gameplay as eating candy for every meal. Sounds great, until you're on day 3 and your body is revolting and dying. But dang it, what if you like that candy? Okay, I see his point here. And we would agree in this regard that too much of a good thing is a bad thing. I mean, even water. If you drink too much water, you can actually die. There was a contest once called Hold Your Wii for a Wii. This is a true story. You can look it up. A lady who was trying to win a Nintendo Wii for her kids, was a water drinking competition. You drink water, and the last person that went to use the bathroom lost, and she died because she retained it all. That's maybe a little bit different story, but too much of a good thing is bad. So he would call Apex a well-rounded meal. Appetizers, steak, potatoes, dessert. I could eat this every day. Yeah, not sure why we talked about food so much. I don't know, but a nice medium steak on the grill is good, dude. So it's all in how you approach the game, right? Because I could look at this from my perspective. He's a game dev. He knows how to make video games. He worked on Titanfall and Apex. Those are massive. This guy knows what he's talking about when it comes to development, to have worked on 2 extremely successful first-person shooter titles. I am not at all disregarding his expertise. I am merely providing another angle for it. See what I mean? He could write a book on how he feels about this and what I learned from working on Titanfall, but I won't, or will I? If you do, I'd be interested to see what you have to say, because you can have some good, healthy discussion from this. So we have here, context. Apex developer doesn't understand its player base. Again, this depends on the individual person and the game, the goal of the game, and what the developers are trying to accomplish with it. Or, developer isn't talking about his player base. So what we are trying to say is that there are different approaches to these games. And just to actually kind of put some icing on the cake here, 50 quad effing trillion different memes at Toasty Bun Bun says, reminder that nearly all COD games run on the IW Infinity Ward engine, which itself is based off the IDDQD 3 engine, which is the engine for Quake 3. Everything falls back to Quake and Doom and Wolf 3D. Seriously, all of the Half-Life games with Valve games, Half-Life, probably Team Fortress even, I believe was a Quake mod, you got Left 4 Dead, all that Call of Duty traces back to the Quake engine, and then Quake came after Doom. There's so much that is missed in this discussion of Twitter threads of what makes a good FPS game a good FPS game, and what goes into them that is neglected. These strategies, these things that you're saying is not in the game, they are in the game. They're in a different manner. They're packaged differently. They're not the steak from Walmart. They're the steak from the high-end steak shop, restaurant, whatever. It's there. It's in a different package. It's a little bit different. It's going to be based off personal preference as to what that means for you as a gamer. Be sure to like this video, subscribe for more, and check out the video on your screen next. I'm Austin. Thank you for watching.